Broads Media.
Yo, listen up. It's almost opening day. You know what opening day means? Coffee with Broads is back. That's right. March 28th, Thursday morning at 11 a.m. That's when we start off. Now, listen. If you join the YouTube membership here on Broads Media for $4.99 a month, every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m. starting March 28th, you will have access to Coffee with Broads live streams, and I can't wait to hang out with you. Also, the Discord channel down below is all the information. You get access to that as well. Make sure you join the Broads Media membership here. I love you guys to death. You all know that. Thank you for the love and crazy support, and enjoy the show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Broads. I just want to thank everybody who ran into me over at the Wells Fargo Center Sunday afternoon at the Flyers Carnival. It was amazing. People were dunking me in the dunk tank, and it was good stuff. So I just appreciate all of you for all the love and support because obviously, as I always mention, without you guys, none of this is possible. So I appreciate it. And look, there's still some Philadelphia Eagles news to discuss. Kenny Pickett versus Justin Fields. And this really shouldn't be a debate. I think it's pretty obvious the Birds did the right thing. Kenny Pickett and Justin Fields, it's not about the long-term projections on what each of them can be if they were a starter and you can let them grow. That's irrelevant. It's really about who gives you the best chance to win this season, and actually more than that because the cost efficiency and the length of the deal with Kenny Pickett makes it even more valuable to the Eagles. But in Justin Fields' case, it's just about what could he do while getting 0 snaps all year long until about 2 or 3 games in the season where Jalen Hurts goes down, is nursing an injury for a couple of weeks. He needs to enter, and Kenny Pickett needs to enter for a couple of games without getting any snaps all year. So I don't want this to become, but Justin Fields and his ceiling is higher if he could ever get a chance to blossom. It's not about blossoming down the road and a 5-year window from now, because to me, it's pretty apparent that Jalen Hurts is our franchise quarterback. So the question becomes, in a 3-game sample size, who can go 2-1? And my answer would be, I think both of them. And if it's about both of them being able to do it, which one makes more sense for your team? And you didn't trade more for Kenny Pickett. You actually just traded back. It was a pick swap. So you didn't give up a third for Kenny Pickett. You gave up 22 draft slots or so. You went from the 98th to the 120th. It's not about the 7th round picks in 2025 because that's not the difference in you making this deal or not. And you can't pretend like that aggravates you. So moving back 22 spots to get a backup quarterback that is extremely cost efficient, which is part of the reasons why you're capable of signing a Saquon, getting a CJ Gardner-Johnson, making the offseason moves that Howie Roseman made, is because you value that minimal cap space. Because I was driving home from my radio shift on Saturday night, and the people following me, Ben Kenny, Dan Wilson, very entertaining show, but they brought up, why does Howie care too much? This isn't baseball. This isn't arbitration. Nobody thinks that way, and you're right. That's why Howie Roseman is the greatest financially, is because he views it that way when the rest of the league doesn't. Everyone's playing catch-up, and they're trying desperately to have the organization ran the way Howie Roseman runs it, and they can't think that way. Howie Roseman thinks differently, and you got a capable backup that, in my eyes, with this offense, as long as he just holds the fort down with these skill position players, with what I believe Kellen Moore's offense can be, then Kellen Moore makes them, not Kellen Moore. He's not playing quarterback, although I'm sure people in Boise will love to see him strap the pads up and see what he can do, because his college tape, some people say, wow. But I think Kenny Pickett makes sense. Makes way more sense. And I don't know what to believe because the original report was the asking price was way too high prior to Justin Fields going to Pittsburgh. And now we're hearing the other side get leaked. And they're claiming that there were multiple better options out there, multiple teams involved. And there was at least a better option out there. But they wanted to do what's right for Justin Fields, which is ludicrous and tells you the incompetence of the Chicago Bears and their front office because you can't give up assets and say, nah, you know what, I'll take a sixth that maybe could be a fourth because he deserves it if you lost a better offer on the table because that's silly. But I know for damn sure that Howie Roseman likes Kenny Pickett, liked him at the time when he was playing at Pitt, liked him as a college prospect and someone who could maybe be something in this league. So it makes a lot of sense for them to do that. But in reality, it's all irrelevant because Marcus Mariota, Gardner Minshew, Kenny Pickett this upcoming year, Justin Fields this upcoming year, they all, in my eyes, because of what's surrounding them, can do well enough if they are needed for a 3-game sample size to go 2-1. So at that rate, what's the best compensation package that you could put together and it not hurt you that badly, right? You're not giving up a ton. You're not over giving. You're not giving way too much. You're giving up cheap. You're moving back spots. That's it. It was a pick swap. So it's outrageously good. I'm surprised that there's that many people on the side of Justin Fields to begin with. And I think what's happening is you're forgetting about the context of where this team is, and you're just thinking of who can maybe be the best. And I don't even know if Justin Fields is significantly better than Kenny Pickett. I believe his raw, natural ability is more appealing than Kenny Pickett's game. I think Kenny Pickett is more polished around. The game looks more structured with the way he plays compared to maybe the outrageousness of Justin Fields. But they were both in very unfortunate circumstances. So that doesn't really apply that, well, and this is even coming from someone who supports the Kenny Pickett move. Well, Kenny Pickett could do better here because he was stuck with Matt Canada and an offense that was clearly frustrating. Yeah, but the Chicago Bears are irrelevant. They did at least get DJ Moore, so I'm sure in theory they thought that could be great. But look, the rumors around are real, that it's not as if people are willing to give an arm and a leg for Justin Fields for a reason. So I do believe for whatever reason, whether it was where he was drafted or the fact that he was a big-time Ohio State quarterback, I believe people are more intrigued by him just because of the name. Don't tell me it's because of the hand size of Kenny Pickett and you're allowing that to impact your view. Maybe the gloves, because the gloves are hideous. And I mean, there is no such thing as good swag from Kenny Pickett, and it's extremely disappointing. I don't know if I can continue with that trash from an eye appeal type of, I mean, seriously, garbage. Someone has to smack him in the face and say, you look like a clown. No swag. You can't go out there like that. But all jokes aside here, maybe the Bears didn't want to even allow Howie Roseman to be involved because the second you get Howie involved, you get pants. There's a fear factor of I don't even want to pick up a damn telephone with the area code 856-609-215, whatever Howie Roseman operates with. I mean, let's be honest, that man probably has 5 or 6 phones. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if that, you know what? I don't know. But I'm sure Howie Roseman rolls up some fat blunts, I'm just saying, and he's got one on the side just in case, he doesn't want to accidentally text the guy he picks up from. Hey, what are you thinking, a third and a fifth, and then accidentally go, picks up, we got the nod from Jeffrey, and it wasn't really Jeffrey Lurie, it was Jeffrey, the dude he picks up an ounce from on Friday nights. I don't know, this is getting outrageous. Maybe the Bears wanted to throw him into the AFC, so if he does ever become something, they won't get annihilated by the fan base or it won't come back to bite them in the ass. But truth be told, it will no matter what. I think this Caleb Williams kid is a clown. I'll be honest with you. I really do. I hate the way he approaches a lot of this stuff. Also, though, we live in a world, and this is such a huge side topic, and I'm totally going to get out of touch here with the main conversation, but I just have to get out my frustration for a couple minutes because it relates to just the era of of athletes that we're in now. And do you know that the New York Yankees asked Marcus Stroman to pitch opening day because they are extremely desperate with the Garrett Cole news and the fact that Carlos Rodon stunk last season, that Stroman's their best option, and he said no thank you? Oh my God! What type of jag-off says that? It's an honor. It is a respect thing to take the ball for opening day, especially in the Yankees uniform. It's not the Cincinnati Reds. All right, it's not some bum Kansas City Royals organization. We're talking a legitimate New York Yankees uniform. And you go, nah, I just kind of want to stick with my routine right now. Thanks. I know my teammates need me. I know my squad needs some help. I know the dudes who pay my paycheck every single week, they need some help right now because they invested in Garrett Cole and he's going through some uncomfortable MRIs and seeing what's happening in the UCL department. But no, thank you. What a world. I can't believe that's even a real conversation. And it is real. Same with this Caleb Williams thing, but whatever. I don't know if Justin Fields is going to be great or not, but I do know that anybody who's going to take a backup role from Jalen Hurts is going to just have a limitation on how much they can grow due to playing time. So it's really about who they are now. And I believe Justin Fields is a little bit more project-y than Kenny Pickett. Pittsburgh fans despised him like no other. And I do hate this trait. Okay, so apparently in Week 17 against the Seattle Seahawks, he was asked to be the emergency quarterback, and he said, I'm not putting on the uniform for you. So once again, I don't know what we're doing here, but that's how we got here. I don't know how we got here, but we got here, and that's how the world is these days, and I don't like that. Now, I do believe that there's enough of a respect in this room from Lane Johnson and Brandon Graham and some of these others, Hassan Reddick, as of right now, that you don't have the balls to cause any sort of issues and ruffle any feathers in this damn locker room, because who the hell are you, Kenny Pickett, right? When you're the number one guy, at least you think you are, and you were drafted there, I feel your head gets super big and you think that you could start making decisions that are outrageous early on in your career, but now you're a backup, and if this isn't you, seriously, you got to understand where you're at, a big-time humbling moment. Well, I think you got to reassess yourself there, Kenny Pickett. So just know that that was once part of sort of the discussion on the personality of Kenny Pickett. He didn't like the Mason Rudolph stuff. He didn't like how any of the quarterback play without him taking the snaps went down. So he handled it very poorly. And, you know, it is what it is, but it is part of what happened in Pittsburgh. I still like the risk, but yeah. Did Jalen Hurts and his feelings come into play at any point with Howie? Meaning, did they not shop for Justin Fields, even though I do believe that they did at least test the water to see exactly what was happening in Chicago? Was any of the thoughts, we don't want to upset Jalen? No. Because Kenny Pickett is closer to that than people are giving credit for. He's not Marcus Mariota, one-year deal, $9 million. He's not Gardner Minshew, one-year deal, $7 million. Those type of veterans, that's what they go for. That's their asking price. Kenny Pickett is on a favorable deal. And I guess if you don't believe in Jalen Hurts, and this is a totally different viewing experience for you, or a listening experience, by the way, you could find your podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all your podcasting platforms. Just type in Broads Media or Sports Talk with Broads. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. That would mean the world to me. Thank you so damn much. But what you're doing with Jalen Hurts, in my eyes, is believing in him so damn much that he's a special quarterback. He's your franchise quarterback, and I'm only talking with the idea of Jalen might go down for 2 or 3 games with a swollen ankle, but nothing in regards to an all-season type deal. And even if it was an all-season type deal, I don't mind Kenny Pickett or Justin Fields, because for the remainder of this season, I still think both of them get you a very similar path. I think they both get you a similar amount of a win total. To scream about this, I believe, is crazy, unless, as I mentioned, you just don't think Jalen Hurts is great, and then you're just projecting Jalen Hurts to at one point crumble, and either Justin Fields becomes your franchise QB, but that's that's silly because we're not even going to pick up his fifth-year option. So this is really just about a 1 year with Justin Fields, while at least you get 2 years of Kenny Pickett in theory. Or maybe a team gets desperate because their quarterback goes down early in training camp or right before the regular season begins, and they don't want to throw away a season by any means. They think they have a competitive roster and a good coaching staff. They just lost their starting quarterback. So who can maybe give us the best opportunity? And you make that pick swap so that pick 120 in the draft becomes a second-round pick because a team offers the Eagles a second-rounder to have him start on a very cost-efficient deal that could give another team maybe some wiggle room with the cap. So there's a lot of things that Howie can do from this. I'm just stunned that there's this huge hype around Justin Fields in this current scenario. Because Jalen Hurts will be playing 14 of the 17 games. So there's no real time for them to understand. And I don't like this narrative either, that you have to get somebody that fits this exact offense. Carson Wentz and Nick Foles did not play even close to one another. They don't have a very similar style at all. It's not even close. But what you do when you have a very talented coaching staff like you did with Frank Reich, and at the time Doug Peterson was in his bag, you then change some things and you change some details. You simplify the offense in certain ways and you create what's best for that QB, and then Nick Foles is able to cook. I also wonder if we have a very skewed mindset because we saw one of the most epic runs in Super Bowl history and we just think that that's the norm, and that's why we put these big expectations on the backup quarterback and a lot of emphasis on it. I just need competence from your backup quarterback, and it makes sense from a legitimate salary standpoint, and as long as I have somebody in range of what I deem is acceptable, then I'm not going to nip it. Well, you could have had Huntley. Huntley's another name that's brought up. Well, maybe you could have got Huntley. Okay, I would have been cool with Huntley. I wouldn't have argued it off if it was Fields. I wouldn't be angry if it's Kenny Pickett. I wouldn't be mad if it was a Joe Flacco type. I wouldn't even be upset if it was a Gardner Minshew type. Those style, but any of that makes sense. It's not like this is incompetence from Howie Roseman or this is so disappointing. One, I do believe he did his homework, and maybe plan number one was to go for Justin Fields, but if the Chicago Bears aren't willing to do it, then so be it. But I think they actually truly wanted Kenny Pickett more because they believe in the player more and because contractually it makes a lot of sense. A cost-efficient backup. This team's not ready for Tanner McKee just to step in and be a replacement if needed. I like what he did in the preseason when he got his first few nods there early last year when it was August time, but that's not the same as being a super competitive team in the NFC looking for a chance to compete for a number one seed and host a playoff game and all the playoff games in your backyard. If Jalen gets banged up after 13, 14 games or so and just needs a breather for a week or two, at least Kenny Pickett has a winning record in this league and damn good coach with Mike Tomlin, bad offensive coordinators, but I believe under Kellen Moore that they should be in good hands for it to be able to be a simplified game plan and at least give the offense an opportunity to win by not screwing up and fumbling the bag. Have the offense be generated from a backup standpoint, and this team has a lot of skill position players. Get them the football early, let them go to work, and who's to say that Kenny Pickett can't do that, and Justin Fields can too and all, but this makes way more sense from he will at least be here for more than 1 year. Now you already got that out of the way next season instead of another hole to fill, because as much as we saw Howie Roseman do a billion things, like even sign Landon Dickerson to an extension, get Josh Sweat back, and they end up giving him some money saying, don't worry about it, this is guaranteed, and now you get him back, and I have to imagine that something's cooking behind the scenes with Hassan Reddick because Howie understands how important this season is, and as great as Bryce Huff is, and as awesome as Josh Sweat is, and we love Brandon Graham to death, but obviously he's on his final last run here. At the end of the day, we need Hassan Reddick to make this even more important. Nolan Smith, too, and I don't know what Nolan is. I'm very confused exactly on what I think he can be next season. Unfortunately, I am a little down on the stock. I'm not buying very high right now. It is low with room to grow and with plenty of chances for him to sort of sway my opinion. And I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say maybe I should have given him a longer leash and maybe I should have just allowed for him to sort of start the season isn't fresh, but I am. I mean, I am giving him a fresh start here, but I hope to God that maybe in the early stages we see a few explosive plays where we see his strengths in replay, and it's, wow, Nolan Smith, even though undersized, you could see that he has this burst. You could see his ability to get low, beat some linemen, and get to the quarterback. Let's go, Nolan. You know what I'm saying? That has to get done rather early, for sure. But Howie Roseman, I'd have to imagine with this defensive line that he sees what I see, and that's the addition of Bryce Huff is good, and Josh Sweat staying is good, and Nolan Smith to BG is good, but this becomes a different machine with Hassan Reddick. So I do believe that deep down, there's got to be truth to them sneaking around behind the scenes, trying to truly find something that can work for all parties here, because it just makes so much sense. It does. It makes sense. And with the trajectory of how this offseason's been going, it's truly remarkable. We're not even at the draft yet. We're not even at the draft. We're not even in that time yet when Howie Roseman makes his awesome little trades right before the season begins. It could be, August, and Howie Roseman, Adam Schefter drops a big bomb on us, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Howie never sleeps. That's right. Howie's cooking and into his bag again. So it's truly amazing we have this guy, and I don't understand anybody that hates all of his moves. I took plenty of calls on WIP, and there's a lot of you out there that say, well, I don't like Devin White. I don't think CJ Gardner-Johnson's good. I don't like the idea of Bryce Huff because you don't think he could play a high enough amount of snaps and have a good level of production as his pitch count rises, if you will. But it's like, so all you're doing is looking at the negatives of every single acquisition. And I'm not claiming that there doesn't come flaws with some of these players. Yeah, I don't know what Bryce Huff is going to look like in the run game. I don't know how it compares to when he could just pin his hair back and go and let his ears fly back and just run at the quarterback and try to apply some pressure here. Yeah, there's truth to that, no doubt. Now, I do trust the Eagles organization with the idea of molding defensive linemen, right? I mean, we do have to give them some credit for what we have been able to watch for the last however many years. It's been pretty insane. So they do a lot of great things here with linemen, especially ones that have been able to do it elsewhere, like the New York Jets. If I see them flourish there, well, then why can't they flourish here, all right, with Jalen Carter in the middle? You don't think that there's going to be a lot of attention to Jalen Carter, just like we saw teams really focus on Fletcher Cox? Jalen Carter can be that, if not one day even better than Fletch, and that is no disrespect to Fletch, because Fletch is an unbelievable, very close to Hall of Fame, can make the argument, that type of guy, and in and out, right on the edge type. But Jalen Carter's ceiling, in my eyes, could be even more splashy. And as we watch that, Bryce Huff gets to go to town. I mean, I don't know why it's only about the negatives. Look, I do have concerns with the idea of bringing in Devin White, but at the same time, it is better than Alex Singleton. It's better than Nicholas Morrow. It's better than a lot of these guys that we've seen, Zach Brown, a lot of these others. His play is not what it was in 2020 when he made a huge impact on a Super Bowl contending team and a Super Bowl winning team. Yes, he was losing snaps at the end of last year, and maybe he's breaking down, but I heard Ray Diddy say this with Glenn Mack now on Sunday afternoon, and really about what he can provide for Nakobe Dean. And this linebacking core, no matter who is brought in, is going to essentially, and I'm paraphrasing a little, but essentially be about how Nakobe Dean enters this season, and if he can actually keep his body available for the guys, that's what will make or break the middle of the field and how we dissect what Howie has done with the linebackers. It's on Nakobe. Now, that does scare me, if I'm being honest, because just like Nolan Smith, I'm not ruling them out by any means. I actually think higher of Nolan Smith than I do Nakobe currently. And it's really just because I haven't been able to get a sense of the product, and a reason is because we talked about his size, and I wonder if his size is a part of the reason why maybe we are in the situation, which is he's constantly on the IR and not available for you. So, it's been a hell of an offseason, though. I don't know how you can ask for anything more. He addressed the biggest running back in arguably franchise history. I mean, it's up there. Not that that was a need for it to be that splashy, but it didn't stop you from doing anything else. You got a wide receiver 3, in theory. At least Devontae Parker will compete for a job, and maybe they draft somebody and that person beats out Devontae down the road. But you get Devontae Parker on a veteran minimum deal because the New England Patriots take the money. You bring in a starting safety in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who we know can grab a bunch of interceptions and turn the football over. While he did get injured with the Detroit Lions, if you are only going to focus on the negatives, then at least understand that if he is capable of playing a lot of time, and it is an if, but if he is, that you are going to put your offense in great positions because he will grab a bunch of interceptions. And they are going to draft a corner. I think they're going to draft a corner in the first round. There's still Isaiah Rodgers right now and there for you. So this whole Bradbury fear and what do they do? Well, if they draft a corner, which there's actually some serious talk about it, and the idea of Isaiah Rodgers, you're not tied to it needing to be James Bradbury. So don't hit the panic button just yet. That's not an automatic. I like what he's done. I mean, I really, really like what he's done. He's got the backup quarterback. He's got some nice moves in what they did with Bryce Huff. They bring back Josh Sweat. As long as they bring back Hassan, then the offensive line makes sense with Jordan Davis next to Jalen Carter and also Milton Williams in the mix too. Look, there's definitely a lot of pressure on these young Georgia kids to be very, very energetic and very playmaking all across the board. And I think that's why Howie Roseman was making it clear in Indianapolis that now is the time to go young and let some of these young kids play because they're running with a lot of youth on their defense mixed with a Slay, a Devin White, a Bradbury until maybe they decide no way in hell, whether that's before the season begins or even roll the dice with some sort of situation of he was bad, then he was good, then he was bad. Now he might have a better season than he did last year because Matt Patricia is no longer the defensive coordinator and there's trust in Vic Fangio. What if Vic Fangio says, I can work with this dude because we know he wants an influence with some of his personnel, and if he wants his scheme to work best, he's in Howie Roseman's ear saying exactly what he feels is needed and what buttons need to be pressed. Well, what if he goes, I can work with Bradbury, man. He was an all-pro prior to last year, right? He's not as bad as what he showed in Tampa, although there are real questions to be asked, and maybe he is. But what if Vic Fangio thinks I can work with that? And by the way, even if it doesn't work, because I know where we might go in the draft, because of Isaiah Rodgers, don't worry about it. But it's worth the shot. I think we can maybe try and do some things for it to benefit us. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of throwing out all options here. But there's some text messages into the Anytime Hotline. Let me get a little sip of water here before we continue. But some text messages over the weekend and how he never sleeps. I mean, that's just reality. All right. Dante. Howie Roseman screwed up. Justin Fields is better than Pickett. There's no hiding it. Jalen and Fields can run the same offense. So this was stupid. Stupid. Same with Devin White, by the way. I don't think Devin White was stupid. There's way too much negativity around Devin White. I'm not telling you he's not going to make mistakes. There will absolutely be plays where I just want to close my eyes and pretend that I never said that Devin White can make any sort of play. All right? Because it'll be ugly. There will be ugly plays. Same with CJ though. CJ will probably miss a tackle here and there, and you're going to want to close your eyes. And if you're a CJ consumer and you're a big fan of his work, you might want to sit that one out because the slow-mo will show you vomit. It will show you the most disgusting technique in football history. That's just reality. Same with Devin White. With that, though, I believe Devin White will be better than a lot of what we've seen. And I'm not against if you want to at least hold Howie Roseman accountable and say we demand more than better than Nate Gerry and better than bad linebacker play. Trust me, I'd be the first one to admit that I love when I'm able to sort of get loud and demand more out of some of these front office members. But Devin White isn't as bad as mentioned. I'm telling you, he's not as bad as mentioned. Did they screw up? No, they didn't screw up. I don't understand this Justin Fields love. It's about Jalen Hurts. And if Kellen Moore is good at what he does, I don't see a way in which Jalen Hurts struggles. It's about Jalen. It's not really about Pickett. It's not about Fields. It's about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. How does Jalen play? That's the difference in how far we're going to go. Because Fields or Pickett, as long as Jalen Hurts is upright, if they need to play 3 games, they could do the same thing. If they could do the same thing, what makes sense financially and asset-wise was Kenny Pickett. Hugh says, is Pickett as good as Foles? Nope. All Howie had to do was give more than a 6th, which turns to a 4th, and we'd have closer to Foles. Don't know how it got messed up from the Eagles side. I don't even know what to say to that. Know what I'm saying? Is Pickett as good as Foles? How good was Foles? He had a magical run, but the full body of work, how good was Foles? I don't even want to go down that road. But you see what I'm dealing with? I'm shocked that I'm dealing with the Justin Fields love to this level. I believe it's a little outrageous. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you all on the next one.